Did you say go ahead and start, Mario? All right. We're going to start
Thanks for joining us. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you for watching. We'll start the Lawrenceburg Redevelopment Commission meeting of August 14th, 2017. Roll call, please.
Executive Director Brian Messmer.
Present.
Chairman Tony Abbott.
Here.
For now, I have Vice Chairman Randy Abner.
Here.
Secretary Dennis Hutchins.
Present.
Member Owen Cross.
Here.
Member Paul Seymour Sr.
Present.
School Board Member Brian Johnson.
Here.
And City Attorney Del Weldon.
Here. First thing I'd like to do as chair, and I'm sure the whole board wants to thank Mr. Abner and Mr. Cross for joining us, some new members. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We're sharing that from this end down here, don't we?
No.
He doesn't, but I do.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes
Mr. Chairman.
meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I don't know, it may be necessary to make a motion and vote on the vice chair. Not that I don't think he's an admirable candidate for the position.
Somebody else want it? Want to do that now, then? Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I just didn't want you to miss it.
All right, well, we'll go on with approval of the minutes, and then we'll bring it up here. Got it. So if I can get a motion approval of minutes from previous meeting, please.
So moved.
Motion by Dennis, the second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
He turned it down and froze.
Well, there's one aye. All in favor?
Set on 16.
Motion, minutes are approved. Under announcements, we have lost our vice chair, so Mr. Randy Abner has been nominated. Could I have a motion to nominate him?
So moved.
And a motion by Dennis for Randy.
Second
and
that.
Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Your vice chair, Randy.
Sound like a pirate.
Was that a surprise?
Seymour.
Your fault. Okay, moving, any other announcements from the board?
I have one. Our attorney went to a meeting in Greendale, and he invited me to go to it about a month and a half ago. And it was a redevelopment kind of symposium kind of thing. And I couldn't go, but Del told me about this manuscript that they presented, and it's kind of a workbook. Actually, it says handbook. And it's handbook for Indiana redevelopment commissions, members, and their attorneys. And it's phenomenal. It's like you don't need to be an attorney. It's written for non-attorneys to understand it. And I think we should get a copy for all the members. And I showed it to Kelly, and she said she would make it, so if it's approved,
Okay.
I think everybody should have a copy of it. It's all the Indiana codes for redevelopment, everything, so. Awesome. Good.
great.
That's it.
All righty. Any other announcements? Okay, on our agenda it says 4th and Main, but we're going to move that down to the old business. So we'll move on to financial report.
As of August 7th, 2017, the balance for redevelopment is $2,504,910.42. But after our promised monies towards projects, it's actually $1,064,000.15.
Ready? Moving on to new business, Mr. Mike Rodriguez.
While we're getting set up, I'll just provide a quick overview. This is for the Maple Street properties. If you remember, we've had a couple proposals on that. If in fact we would continue or accept this proposal, we would have a purchase option contract on the property. We would prepare a presentation or an application for submittal. I believe and we'll probably go over the dates, but I think it's in January. And then we're looking for tax credits, and if we are successful, we would know in February. If we're not successful, we would have an opportunity to evaluate our position on the application, maybe resubmit in June or July. this relationship would be built upon that being a successful application.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Messmer. Brian, can we all assume up here that they're aware of all any problems with the property?
Yes, they are, and they would also, as part of their process, would have to do their due diligence as well.
So they're up to...
And that would all be contingent, the whole project's contingent upon all the obvious.
Good.
Yeah, and the legal department has been able to review the proposed term sheet from them, and everything looks great, and to give them an option would be perfectly legal and within our powers to give them that option.
Oh, and where are we coming with our new video screen?
I didn't ask that.
I don't know why that's your responsibility, but I'm glad it is.
Worthy stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So they have in the courthouse, we got a huge, like 80-inch monitor.
It was a joke. Oh, do you have
That's a good one.
That's a different
That's cool.
He meant that they
It's like a TV screen, just bigger.
handle on it.
TV off of it. You can run these slides.
Different class.
Wow.
Okay. I caught that too.
Laserized screen that comes down and just. How that works.
Also, it's like a projector. It's not a,
It's all wires. Like we're in a corner.
okay. It's probably like Bluetooth, so your signal just shoots to it.
You can do that.
That's cool. I've seen people have those in their basement. Yeah.
Is it gonna work, Owen?
The kids come watch
Oh,
movies.
John?
Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
Okay. That would be the coolest part of the park, is when we can have free movie night.
I think it'd be cool too. I'd like to go down and watch movies.
Yeah.
I told him that's the way you do it.
Yeah. I'll sit right in the middle of it.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. I just gotta find the presentation.
Take your time. We're all kind of heavy breathing after that last meeting.
Does everybody have a copy of the presentation? I brought extras
Yes.
in case. Okay. Well, good evening. My name is Mike Rodriguez. I'm a development director with Herman and Kittle Property. And I met with Brian and the mayor about maybe a month ago, I think, and we were talking about the, we actually met with Cardinal ATC, a environmental company that's familiar with the site on Center Street and Maple Street. I was hoping just to take a couple minutes today to tell you a little bit about Herman and Kittle, a little bit of our history, and then, as Brian kind of alluded to, if agreeable, the next steps that we'd like to take forward to try to get this property developed. So going into Herman and Kittle, so we are a developer of multifamily properties. We are the 11th largest developer of affordable housing. We're based out of Indianapolis, and we're a fully integrated company, so we have in-house development, construction, design, property management. We've got about 13,000 units that we currently own and manage in 15 states. Indiana's our home state. We probably have at least half of all our developments here in Indiana, and so we're very versed in working in Indiana. So a little bit about the rental housing tax credit program. This is how we develop. We do both market rate and affordable housing. But what I primarily focus is on the affordable or the rental housing tax credits. And what that is, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but essentially what it is the federal government, the IRS, gives the state of Indiana $2.25 for every resident. And instead of Washington doling out those tax credits, they create, or I guess Indiana created kind of a quasi-government agency called the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority, IHCDA for short, and their responsibility is to work with private developers to dole out these tax credits. It's a very competitive process. I would say for every allocation that's received, about 3 applications go in, so there's about a 33% chance of being successful. But it is kind of a quasi-governmental private industry partnership. It has been very successful. So over the last 25 years, it was started in the Reagan administration under the tax reform policy. Only 0.65% of all developments have ended up in foreclosure. It creates 122 jobs for every 100 units constructed. And when you look at the total multifamily, both affordable and market rate, this program accounts for about 30 to 40% of all multifamily developments that get built. And demand is outpacing supply, so nearly a quarter of all rental households pay half of their income in rent. So the intention of the program is to kind of take that rent burden off residents It's, a lot of people have the misconception that it's Section 8 or HUD, and it's not. People pay rent, you have to have a job to live there. You have to go through a background check and a tenant selection process. But what it is we get tax credits up front to help subsidize it, and in turn for that, we keep the rents low over 35, 40 years. So people can afford it, and they're not rent overburdened in their home. So talking specifically about Lawrenceburg, when we talked to Brian and the mayor, we were talking about a senior housing at that about 3-acre site at Center and Maple. The rents, we'd have 1 and 2 bedroom units, and rents would range anywhere from $280 to $700 for a 1-bedroom unit, and then between $324 to $829 for a 2-bedroom unit. And I was saying you have to have a job, you have to have some kind of income. In order to be qualified to live there, you have to make between $15,690 to $31,380 for a 1-person household. For a 2-person household or 2-bedroom household, it would be between $17,940 and $35,880. So those are the income ranges where we would target potential residents. And if I'm going too fast or questions along the way, please feel free to stop me. So I just, I put a graph on here kind of saying what the income limits are. They're bands of income, so we would target 30% of area median income all the way up to 60% of area median income. Certain units would be reserved for certain income bands, but I've kind of laid out there so you know what the income limits per person is, as well as what the gross rents are per unit as well. With gross rents, we have to take back out the utility allowance. So when we talk about housing costs, we talk about everything, rent and utilities. So the net rent that they're paying is actually on the second page. It's $280 for a 1-bedroom up to $700, $324 for a 2-bedroom up to $829. And the utility allowances, we'd have to do a little more work on that, but we're estimating accounting about $140 to $180 a month per unit in utility cost. So Herman and Kittle, and I've got some slides here to show you some examples of what we built in the past. Primarily, senior apartments is what we were kind of geared towards. But the senior amenities include 1 and 2 bedroom units, senior-oriented services, so we'll partner with a service provider to actually bring in services for the seniors. Some of that is helping find food pantries or budgeting assistance or things like that that our nonprofit partner would help the senior residents of the community with. Accessible units, with our senior properties, we have 100% accessibility, so they're all elevator buildings. Every unit is both ADA accessible, both first floor to third or fourth floor, however high we go. It'll be either Enterprise Green or LEED, so it'll be a very energy efficient building. Utility costs will remain low because of that energy efficiency. Energy Star appliances, we have a national contract with Whirlpool. Again, that's to help keep the utility costs low. Ceiling fans, washer and dryers in the units. Community room with a kitchenette, exercise room, outdoor patio, and raised gardens. And I kind of put, a lot of people when I come to present there, they want to say, you know, who will be living there? And I just wanted to, I put the following slide up here to kind of show you that we have eligibility criteria, we have tenant selection criteria. This is the same that we use for our affordable properties that we would our Class A market properties. So at the end of the day, we're the property management for any affordable property as well as any market rate, and we want to keep those similar. The only thing that would change with the affordable property is the income limits and the rents. So here's an aerial of the site. I think most of you are probably familiar with it. It's the corner of Center Street and Maple Street. It's about a 3.5 acre parcel. We propose to develop maybe a 3-story senior building. Again, we've had one meeting. We haven't gotten really far into the details. But that's kind of what we were thinking. And I just have some pictures of some examples that we've built recently. This is Lafayette Landing, so this is a senior property in Indianapolis, 4-story, interior corridors, elevators, 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, I like it.
9 North, Richmond. Again, this is actually a family building, but again, it's 4 stories, interior corridors with hallways. Preston Point looks very similar to Lafayette Landing. It's the exact same design. But just kind of give you some examples of what we've done in the past relative to senior properties. This one is Jackson Square. It's located in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It's one of our newer designs. I know the picture is not great. It actually just got completed a couple months ago, but it's a 3-story design with outdoor patios, again, elevators, interior corridors. And another picture of that. Typically, our developments will be 100% hardy plank and brick, stone, some kind of combination of the two. We don't typically do vinyl siding just because it tends to wear and not look as well after a few years. So primarily hardy plank and brick is what our elevations would look like. Couple pictures of the interior hallways, a lobby, hallway in the senior building. Here's our community room. There's a kitchenette that you can't really see in there. Couches, TVs. The one on the bottom is one of our senior properties. You can kind of see the bar for the kitchenette, as well as the tables. Again, just some more pictures of community space. Computer room, exercise rooms. And again, we'll develop these very similar to how our market rate products look. That's the whole point of the tax credit program. It's nice, affordable, safe communities that are affordable. Some interior units. You can see the living room, the kitchens, and then accessible. So the senior buildings would be 100% accessible with hardwood floors, removable base cabinets, turning radius for wheelchair access and things like that. So kind of a quick presentation again, kind of want to tell you who Herman & Kittle was, our experience in the past. I'd be happy to take any questions. As Brian said, the applications would be due in November, and we'd find out in February. We're coming up, it's about 2.5 months away, it'll be tight. The good thing is if we can't get an application in this application cycle, there's a second one in July, so we'd probably find out about August if we were successful. The site's contaminated. Herman & Kittle's very accustomed to dealing with brownfield sites. There's a property that is probably about 70% done in downtown Indianapolis. It was an old paint and varnish factory. It was a brownfield site that we had to remediate and remove all the dirt. There was an old hospital in Hartford City that the basement was under about 5 feet of water. We actually converted that old hospital into, it's been vacant for about 10 years. We converted that into senior apartments, about 46 units. In Clinton, Indiana, we did an old garment factory that we converted. That was actually family, it wasn't senior, but we took an old garment factory and converted it into these loft-style apartments. And the most recent one was in Ligonier, and I didn't really work on this as much, but up a little bit west of Fort Wayne, we worked on a brownfield site in Ligonier. It's 55 units, and that is, it's not senior, it's a family, but it's senior-friendly. So Ligonier was a little bit of a small town. The market study couldn't support an all-senior property, so we made it a family, but the look and feel was senior. So it had elevators, interior corridors, only 1 and 2 bedroom units. And so that's something that we have a lot of experience doing brownfields and remediating it, working with the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. So we've got experience doing that, leasing up and managing it as well. So I think we're uniquely qualified to be able to redevelop this site. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or share any more information.
Does anybody have any questions?
I've got a couple. Did you tell how many units it would be, and I missed it?
No, typically for these with the larger buildings, and again, we'd have to talk about how high we want to go, whether it's 3 stories, 4 stories. I would think anywhere from 60 to 75 units if we could get up to 3 stories.
Would that be based on 3 or 4 stories?
I would think that probably closer to 60 if we're at 3 stories. Our standard 4-story senior building is about 76 units.
What about parking?
Parking, because it is senior, we typically, we try to go about 1-to-1 with senior buildings.
All this will be in the second phase. Right now, we just need a vote on.
Well, just curiosity, just a simple
No, I'm
question.
happy to answer anything. And again, we're very early in the preliminary. A purchase contract's been submitted, but you know, we're very early in the process. And to be honest, I'm a little nervous about the November timing. We still have to order all our third-party reports, do our environmental testing, our soil testing, market study, and things like that. But yeah, that's very conceptual. Where we're
Once you get your tax credits, hopefully, will you be back to show us the design and?
We'd actually, actually what we'll do is we'll submit a conceptual design with our application.
Okay.
And again, 2.5 months is a tight timeline, depending on how much input the city, and we'd be happy to, you know, collaborate together on that. We could show you a conceptual site plan and building elevation before the application even goes in. Once we get that if we get the allocation, we're successful, then we'd move to full construction drawings. We'll hire an outside civil engineer and maybe an outside architect to come in and help put the full construction drawings together. But when we go to the state and present this, we show them exactly what it's going to look like, and we'll be happy to share that and collaborate any way you deem appropriate.
Okay. Any other questions? Is So Dale, we need a motion to support the effort to get the tax credits.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. The motion would be to approve the legal department to enter into an option contract. Is probably the broadest way to describe it, with Herman and Kittle, and to sponsor them in the ways that they need to apply for these tax credits. The contract with us would be an option on the property, and it's contingent on them being approved for these credits. They're going to apply in October, and then they'll find out in November, and then they'll also apply again in July.
Apply in November, find out in February.
November, February, and then July, August would be the two.
To July, August, if we miss. And to be complete, I know we talked about November, getting a little bit nervous about the timeline, so I just want to put that out there that we may not hit the November timeline. Definitely hit the July one, but I just want to make sure we design this right and don't try to just rush something through. So if we don't hit November, then yes, we'd apply in July, find out in August, then we need about 6 months to close that after we get the allocation.
Yep.
So if somebody would like to put that in motion, or just say so moved.
So moved.
I have a motion by Randy. You'll take care of that. Do I have a second?
I actually have a question for our attorney first.
Yes, sir.
This contract is the contract you're using as the guide for this?
There was a contract presented, I don't know if that's the one.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Okay.
And so, just most generically, we're saying, hey, we'll sell this property, and they're saying they'll buy it, but if they don't get the tax credits that they're seeking, then they don't have to buy it.
But it's based on this dollar amount for the property?
It's based on appraised value? Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's no risk to us.
Are you looking for, Mr. Chairman, a second?
Need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you.
First by Randy, second by Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Susie Nugent Randall?
Really, take a chance.
Okay, so for all of you who don't know us, I'm Susie Randall. This is my partner, Kevin Anderson. We're here representing Hickory House Barbecue. We're asking the Redevelopment Commission for $102,000 to finish the project that we have started. A little bit about Hickory House. It's going to be a sit-down restaurant, and you're going to have the option to sit down or carry out. We've built a party room, which we can have parties or rent out for meetings, which will include a buffet, lunch or dinner. We've hired a day cook, and we do have a well-known chef that is going to be coming to our restaurant. I've hired 3 full-time servers right now and 3 part-time servers, and looking for 2 more. We do have intentions to hire more employees as our business grows. A little bit about our background. I have about 30 years retail and business management. Kevin hasn't owned a business, but he does have 35 years of cooking, doing smoking, so I think we kind of complement each other. And what we're looking for is $102,000. Once our project is done, it'll probably be around $159,000 once it's completed. To date, we have put in about $57,000 of our own money. Actually, since this proposal, it's been quite a bit more. We owe about $81,000 to our vendors, and we are looking about $22,000 still to purchase equipment.
What's the money for, the $102,000, what's that for?
That is actually, if you look on, you have a handout. It is under the money requested for falling expenses, so we do have our kitchen equipment, we've already paid half of our kitchen equipment, so we need the other half. We have our plumbers, our contractor to still to pay, electric. We still, we have paid half of our hood system, so we do owe our other half of that.
What do you mean by total owed vendors? What do you mean, you owe what vendors and why do you owe them?
What we owe for our hood system, we paid half already, so we owe another additional $7,800. It's the one that says Bob and Don equipment balance owed. We've already paid half of that, the $10,000.
Right here.
61070, so that's what we owe for like our kitchen equipment. And then we have the balance on our hood, and then what we owe our contractor, plumber, electricians. We still need to purchase furniture for our party room. So we still need to get that. We do have half of our furniture already for the dining room.
Where is this located?
It's located across from our Frisch's in the JTS Plaza, where the old jump-in building was.
And are you leasing that space?
It's next to the cleaners.
Okay. Well, my dentist. You can go to the dentist and then eat barbecue.
There you go. So, I think that's about it. Unless you have something that I left out.
I've invited most of the board members down
I never did get a chance to run down there. I was
to
busy running.
to see what we've put into it. A lot of hard sweat, a lot of hours that we've put into this project. Mario come down and looked. Paul Jr.'s been down to look. We had no idea that we was going to get in this deep, but with what we've got going on down there, I want to see this through, and this is the only way we can do it.
Looks nice, by the way.
We got our livelihood on the line.
Okay.
We went and refinanced her house, took out as much cash equity as we could. It's the only way we could get a loan. Owe Mr. Clausen $300 tomorrow on his utility bill, or my utility bill. So,
Is that personal?
Business.
I owe the city of Lawrenceburg.
Oh, we thought maybe you were living at the Clausens or something.
No, I got to come over here to his counter and pay for my utility bill, so I don't know what else we can tell you other than we'd just like to have a good handshake.
Tickled to death to see something like this coming in. I just wish it was downtown, but they've already committed and put a lot of effort and money in it. And I'm not against helping them. I'll tell you that. I'm for it.
Well, do you want to, how much help do you want to give?
You want me to shock you?
I'd like to make a comment if I could, just real quick. Done a lot of that kind of work, and I'd like to let everybody know that when I went down there, I wasn't knowing what I was walking into looking at. But these guys, for not being in the restaurant business, everything down there is being done top notch. I mean, they're doing a real good job on the project. Everything they've done to this point, from what I can see, is being done right. So I just want to make that comment.
And it is a great concept of what they've done.
Yeah.
Even the used wood that they're using in the tin makes, yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah, looks good.
Well, and the reason I guess I was asking so many questions is just because of, and we've got two new members here today, and it's kind of what we've always talked about, the last year and a half, is how do we figure out a way to make kind of some uniform ways of looking at businesses. So anytime a restaurant business comes into it to present to us, how do we, treat everyone the same way? How do we make sure that we're truly doing the citizens of Lawrenceburg a service by putting people in a position to be successful? So, the reason I ask questions is it's unusual for someone to come in halfway through a build out and ask for us to help pay, it looks like invoices for work that's already been done.
Right.
So we don't have the benefit of being here at the very beginning and them saying, hey, we want to have a barbecue business. Here's what it is. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our background. So, for example, with Strong's Pizza, they presented to us before they came to town, here's what we'll put in. If you put in this much and you put it in, after we're done and we do a certificate of occupancy, that's something we've kind of done for everyone.
But it shows you now, they get skin in the game. They
get
put
skin in the
money
game.
in there, and they're two citizens from the area here. They're both born and raised here. So, they're not going to go anywhere. They got family ties here too, so it's something we need to look at also.
Good, that's important. So those are the kind of questions that, that's kind of how the discussion should probably be.
Now,
I
one
don't
thing,
want to be the bad guy here, but we've talked before that the money that we grant out, we want to be attached to.
yes, that's
Like,
true.
I think we're going to get
Restaurant
there real
equipment.
quick.
And the thing here is, there's a lot of this we can't attach to. And a lot of this stuff, if you put in that building and you move out, it stays in that building because it's just leased. The owner gets that. Once it's hooked to the building, it's his.
Don't plan on going anywhere.
I know, but we can't look at it like friends. This is just a business thing.
Right.
If we put out $70,000 towards something that's attached to that building, we lose it. If you fold or you go, then nobody's getting nothing, just the owner gets it. There's a lot of things here that we can help with, and it's up to you guys with how much you want to do or what you want to do.
You must have been reading my mind.
Well, one other thing too is I don't think we pay for lease rental anymore. We
Well-
kind of stopped that.
She was
But we
talking-
didn't ask for the lease, the money. We've already paid that out. If you look under,
Okay, that's under the expenses paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
we've already paid that out to
Yep,
John.
you're right. I'm sorry. I was looking in the
No,
wrong one.
that's not asked for.
But the total amount owed to the vendors is $85.99.
And Chairman Abbott brings up a good point, and that's an example of something that we've done kind of uniformly. We've sought a way to attach collateral to the money we've given, whether it's attaching a lien to the property itself, which here you don't own the property, or to the equipment. We can do a UCC filing. We actually did that in the Premier Energy situation. We helped fund Premier Energy, Sycamore Gas. They brought them their facility to Industrial Drive, and they gave us just a bunch of equipment that was actually worth more than. So those are two different ways that we could secure things so that if the terms of whatever you guys come up with aren't followed.
I have a question
Yes,
based
sir.
on that. How much, and Tony's point is probably legally true, it's attached. How much equipment do you have that we could recover, God forbid, what's the amount, what's the value of the equipment that's not attached?
So,
In that building.
if we would leave to build a new building or whatever, we're gonna take our kitchen equipment, our hood, right there, you've already got $40,000 in kitchen equipment, and we're taking that if we do build a new building.
Okay, so there's 40,000. Is there anything else in
And
the
then
equipment?
we've got,
All of our furniture.
furniture, so right
Tables and
now,
Can you
we've
put a
got
number on that, kind of?
9,000.
We're at 49?
Just for the dining room. We want to go back and purchase furniture for our other rooms, so you're looking at another 15.
Our normal deal
so-
that Dell has brought up is that we normally attach our deals and we structure them we try to make them accountable as to what they'll do if something happens, how do we get it back?
Right.
And that's important to us, so a lot of them, we've done like 3 to 5 years, you have to make a commitment to stay open. Now, at the end of that 3 or 5 years, whatever we would decide, you're off the hook, technically, from this argument, you'd be off the hook. Not that we want you to fail after 3 years, We want you to be very successful. You didn't mention that to the people in the audience and the other board members, you do have a beer license too.
We do.
And I think that's a big plus for you up there. Barbecue in particular, so I think it lends itself to it. You're entering into a world you're married to that thing. I mean, you really are. You guys know that, right?
What all you gonna have besides barbecue at your place?
Doing hot wings.
Hot wings.
We're looking to do ribs, baby back ribs one weekend. We'll switch it up.
Scotty will be
and
down,
do
I
a
know.
brisket the next weekend.
I'll be there for the ribs.
Well, if I can get back to my point though, real quick, Randy.
Go ahead.
What do you have to offer us back if you do fail, till we have something to recover, is where we need to look at this. Am I wrong, Del?
No, I think that's correct.
I think we have to say those things.
Based on precedent, based on how we've treated everyone.
Yeah.
And then the other issue would be, what are the terms? 3 years, how many employees or whatever we would ask for. I probably missed the boat when I didn't put the hours of operation in for Beebs and Bubs, because they haven't done that. I wish I would have put that in there.
That was going to be a question for
I know
me.
it, and so we learn, I learned from that, and I wouldn't make that mistake again. So that's just what we've done for everyone. And so the next one would be certificate of occupancy. When do you think you would be open?
September 1st.
September 1st, okay. So that's another kind of, if we're just looking at generic funding agreements, those are some of the pieces.
And tell her about the payoff. It's, she won't get any money until she gets a certificate of occupancy, but she can get a letter from us to a bank guaranteeing the.
Nothing up front.
Right.
Yes, sir. Mr. Seymour is correct, yeah. And that usually helps with obtaining funding, the letter from us saying that here are our terms, and we would be able to do that, yeah.
Because we got 2 or 3 guys that's getting real close. The electric, Tri-State Electric, they're real close to being finished up.
Plumber.
CNS Services, like I said, they're real close to being done.
Toby.
Toby Pope, our plumber, he's real close to being done.
Kevin, if they know redevelopment's backing you for some grant, they'll be a little more patient than they were yesterday.
Okay.
I can assure you. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I'd be surprised if they're
I
not.
still think you want to get your bills paid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be long. Lowe's and Home Depot.
Can I
will be
say
making-
something about that? This is unusual for us because Del said it in the beginning. We didn't know about this before you started the project, okay? And we know well, we didn't. This commission did not know that you were going to come for a request before you open, because you want to open in a month, right? Less than a month. So the dilemma is, and it's clear for us, the redevelopment's history has been, Tony said that, he made a point about we tried to cover everything, and we have, but we still haven't got it perfect yet. But redevelopment in its history has been burnt by restaurants. And the attorney brought up the Strom situation, but we did a lot of work on Strom's, plus they had a huge history in the restaurant business, plus they owned other restaurants. So we're not saying you guys need that, but that helped them, Plus the attachment there, we had $32,000 just in one oven that we could take back from there, plus some other things. I'm kind of looking for a number that you guys could tell us, other than that 102, that you could, what happens if we don't give you 102? What happens if we give you 60 or 50? Can you go forward? Where are you guys? Because that might be all you get.
Well, and that's a good question, and I think that's, when we're discussing kind of the unusualness of this, if you don't get any money from us, what happens?
It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
We're probably going to end up losing our house.
And see, that's not a personal question, that's a universal question. Universally, if Mr. X comes in and says, hey, I wanted to do this restaurant, and I started to do it, and then I got most of the way through, and now I realize I can't really do it, so I need your help, then obviously it's our duty to ask questions about that, because we would wonder, we would have concerns about how this money is going to kind of be, is this the best use of it? We want to help, but we want to help in a structured way that's fair for everyone, same for everyone, I guess.
Right.
We've never had something like this.
I'd like to, Owen,
Yes.
do you have a number in mind?
No, I don't.
How about you, Mr. Abner? She's not gonna faint.
I really don't know. I have
Kevin,
one,
push a
but
chair up in there.
I could. I could probably pop up a number, but I don't know. What's your number?
Well, I'm thinking 80. I'm not gonna be ashamed. It's gonna come out, fellas.
Okay.
If I tried to hold it in, it'd be embarrassing.
Well, Dennis, I'm gonna go up a little higher than what I told you. I'd like to at least go 90.
So you're adding a little bit
I'm
more?
gonna add a
Okay.
little skin to the game. If they're adding the skin to the game, I think we can too. I'll stop at 90.
I appreciate
What does
that.
our new member think, Don? I want to ask him too.
All I can honestly say is I work for the people, and what is best for the people is what everything's new to me, so I have to kind of wait and weigh in as I go along.
You're taking it under
But,
advisement.
but at the same time, we want to be just honest and fair with you.
I can save you $4,000 real quick. Go to Walmart and buy them TVs, about half that price. 55-inch TVs, $2,199 a piece. You can get them for $968 down there. That's almost $9,000.
What's the nature of your liquor license? Is it just a beer license?
It's beer only.
How did you obtain that?
You know where I'm going.
What happened is I called Indianapolis, they didn't have one, so I kept researching. And I finally went back on their website, and they were having an auction. And they had three licenses up there for auction for Dearborn County.
Well,
So we went, yes, City of Lawrenceburg. And then we went, and we were the only ones there to bid.
the bid. How much did you pay for the,
It was $750.
okay.
No, it was
For five?
$500 for, to be able to qualify to be able to bid, and we had to pay the minimum bid, which was $500, so we got $1,000 in the bid.
Wow, good for you. That's probably worth much more than that. I think you did good.
Yeah.
You guys, have you gone back to the landlord up there on the plaza about your rent and shared this kind of a story with him about you're in trouble a little bit? Have you tried to talk to him about this at all?
He doesn't,
Well, the reason I'm asking is, you're at $45,600 a year in lease.
right.
That's $3,800 a month, plus utilities and everything else. You've got it all broke down here. It's a big number. Your salaries are in here, your health care is in here. I mean, wow. You got to crank a lot of barbecue out of there. Sell a lot of beer. Okay. Have you talked to him, though? Have you tried?
He's been busy the last couple of days doing concrete work.
No, I know you showed me in the back, and that's great, but I mean,
But he's not out there to be involved in
well,
build-outs
but
or
he
anything.
wants you to succeed, so you pay the
Right,
renter, but I can
right.
assure you he does.
Right, but he doesn't want to personally fork out anything.
No,
for
no,
your
no, I'm not
project.
asking that. That side of that plaza's been empty for 6, 7, 8 years, okay? It's been empty. And, I mean, maybe we could help if anybody here knows him very well. I mean, there's some people that know him real well, but your rent's really tough. Maybe he'll give you 6 months of a discount or
He,
7 months. Everything
actually,
helps.
You know, the extras, our rent is actually $3,000 a month.
Thanks, Brian.
Then he adds on for taxes, that we have to pay partial taxes to him.
What are you
Guess
paying
all
taxes
the-
for?
The renters have to pay towards his property taxes, and
Wow.
he was gonna
Let's-
charge us for a
let's move on.
dumpster, which we went out and purchased a dumpster because we weren't paying him.
Well, I think-
Was it
And
whatever?
part of the
month.
conversation I think we're having here is the fact that, we're struggling with the fact that it's not in downtown Lawrenceburg, which is where we've tried to spend money to,
I would rather see it in downtown Lawrenceburg, but I would make a motion right
Firehouse.
now if we got off track a little bit.
Yes,
My
sir.
motion is that we grant $80,000 towards this project.
I have a motion for 80,000 by Paul Seymour, Senior. Do I have a second?
I second.
And second by Owen. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Motion passed.
And, Your Honor, if it pleases the commission, the terms would be $80,000 upon certificate of occupancy. There will be a lien on all eligible property, including the liquor license or the beer license. Are there any other terms? What were the employment numbers that you were offering?
I have, it'll be 3 full-time servers. There'll be, 4 part-time servers. There'll be a daytime cook full-time. There's a chef full-time. Am I leaving out?
You're full-time?
Well, I'm full-time, but
And,
that's it.
thank you. And then with the,
Say 3 years?
that's what I was gonna ask. Do you want 3 years, 5 years?
3 years minimum.
3 years is plenty.
Okay.
I believe 3 seconds, yeah.
I'll draw it up.
Dale will draw up the contract and let me get with him. Or you'll give them a call, or?
Yes, sir.
So, then do we present the invoices to you? I mean, is that how you do it?
Once you're open, you would present invoices confirming the purchases as you've presented them to us to Ms. Brookbank.
Okay.
And then once she's able to confirm that they match, then she would authorize, and I would jointly authorize the clerk treasurer to release those matching funds.
Okay.
Dale, but if they needed it now, they can get a letter from us and go to one of the local banks.
Absolutely.
And get the money to offset some of the costs that they have now, correct?
Yeah, and I'll write that, I'll write a letter to that effect.
Okay. All right. Alrighty.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you. Moving on from new business, Devin Steele,
Lost my paper.
535 St. Clair.
I don't see Devin. And I kind of was expecting him to be here. If you give me a second, I might be able to confirm his interest, but for the record, he is interested in 535 St. Clair, which is available. He has provided a drawing, layout of the house, approximate square footage, and very similar to the houses that are going up right next to it. If you would like to continue, I will confirm with him. We can vote to proceed upon confirmation with him.
Does he have an amount that he wants to give for the lot?
Consistent with his neighbors,
And how much was that?
$100.
Which lot is that, Brian?
535, that is the one, it's the one in the middle to the right, to the north. There's one to the far north, one to the far south.
Next
There's
to
two in the
Stops,
middle.
Please.
Pardon me?
Am I thinking the right area? Is that
Yeah,
next to
yes.
Stop? Okay.
Yeah, right next to Stop.
Hey, I
I'm
have
sorry,
a
that was
question.
easier.
He's got in his photo, he's got the front garage coming in off the street. All the other houses up there, they're building garages in the back. I mean, otherwise, now, we're gonna have to tear up the curve and everything else. Can't he put the garage in the back, Brian? I'm just asking. If he was here, that's what I'd ask him.
He would have to take care of that, Dennis. He'd have to get a curb cut from that driveway. That would be on.
He'd have to go get a permit and everything, just like when I did mine.
I mean, there again, I haven't seen, he's got to go through all the permits.
But he'd have to pay for all that.
Yes,
Okay.
Well, how expensive would that be?
depending on the width and everything. I mean, it'll be, the curb cut itself will be, almost at 3,000-4,000.
I think you ought to be approached about it because you're looking at the appearance of the whole street too. It's gonna be an odd look.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing I had is this owner occupied? Is he gonna live in it?
He's building it for the market.
Okay.
So the grant does not apply at this point unless somebody,
Not to him.
okay,
If
okay.
he's building it for the market, then he wouldn't have a problem putting the garage back on the,
No, I don't, I just assumed they would all be built as all the other ones where there was alley access for the garage.
well, he's got his garage in the
Whatever the
front.
permit,
The other ones are all in the back, so.
yeah.
So do you want to just continue this and let him come in and talk to us? I think that's best.
Okay.
Hey, I'm in favor of it, Tony. I mean,
Oh, you did?
if you want to continue, but I know we have some questions.
For the street appeal, we really don't want the garage in the front, I wouldn't think, because it doesn't match with the rest of the homes there.
Right, we want it in the back, yeah.
But they may not be able to put it in the back. Huh?
Have to all look the same?
It's got the plans here, I mean, I'm looking at the plans, see if they can put it in the back.
Like different houses.
I don't think so. Thatch?
Letting you know that we have seen this before.
So this is not, could not be his
Favorable.
choice.
Yeah,
Favorable.
yeah.
I think so.
So we're favorable on this? Pardon? But we're going to find out. We're favorable?
I gotta hear it.
Favorable,
What am I gonna be favorable?
I don't know yet.
proceeding with the sale of the lot on 535 St. Clair contingent upon confirming that the garage access will be from the alley.
And what if it's not? And what if they wanna continue with this?
Then it's no good. That's not what the motion will,
All right, okay. I concur.
You want to make that motion?
I'll,
You got
so
it?
moved.
All right, got a second motion. Got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
That went by.
Where
we at now?
That went pretty smooth.
That was the last one there.
Wanna tell 'em
Moving.
who-
Yeah, that's.
Hey, would you two join our meeting over here?
Well,
You guys get a room, okay?
the house that is pictured here is actually a copy from another contractor that already purchased a lot. So we need to approach that contractor as well, because that's the same exact photo that he provided us, because they're working together to have a uniformed look. So just letting you know that another
That's a good point.
contractor plans on doing the same exact thing, so we probably need to let him know.
Okay.
it would have to
Favorable.
meet all zoning permitting application requirements.
Mr. Mesmore will take care of that, and you will, right?
Cool.
Talk to him. Okay, moving on to old business. First thing we'll have is 4th and Main. Brian?
That's one of his houses.
Okay, yeah, let me catch up with myself here. Okay. 4th of Main, just a quick history. There were some properties that were, I will term not compliant in terms of some of the building codes in the community. We had talked about pursuing those at an earlier meeting with the intention that that property could either be subdivided differently or used as a commercial piece of property. Then we discovered that there was some private interest in one of the homes and perhaps a remodel, so we stepped away before any appraisal or anything were done. Since that time, I've been contacted by all interested parties of 522, 518, and 510 Main Street. 522 and 518 are currently, have been identified as non-compliant. I don't know specifically what it is, but generally speaking, non-compliant. In fact, I think they had some court hearings this week on those particular properties.
Yes, sir.
I've also had interest, and I have a letter regarding 510 Main Street, all interested in the disposal of the property. That's directly adjacent to a lot that UCB still owns, that, you know, we have had a general discussion with them, and they would be, you know, interested in working with us if we so desired that property as well. So, I guess number one, you know, are we interested in going back to that original premise? Would be number one, and that would probably be contingent upon what those properties were valued at. I can make a suggestion. We could offer between $10,000 and $15,000 for both, for 522 and 518, treat them equally. They are in equal shape, and then we would have to do appraisals on 510, just based on the condition of the properties. The offers on 522 and 518 are within our, as I understand, our right to offer without appraisals, and that would leave us some room to, for the disposition if we got to that point. Or table and take under advisement and, think about it. But I felt, since I've been contacted by all three property owners, I felt that I was obligated to bring that back to the board.
Now, are these the same property owners, or has those buildings exchanged hands?
As far as I know, they're all the same property owners. 522 is listed by a low mower. 518 is still, I think, the one with bad structure on the back of it, and then 510 was recently occupied.
You do have some interest in that, then, or had some interest in some of that property down through there? You did?
Yeah, we discussed it. We looked across the street at the veterinary office and kind of thought, there's a comparable size commercial piece of property. There is one home there that recently did sell, which is over by the old Dr. Morrison office right there in the corner. So I don't know, just my gut feeling is that's kind of out of play in terms of where it's at, but I guess anything's possible.
That's one thing I'm worried about. You want to do this for commercial property, then there's residential homes on each corner of it, and if I was living in that residential home, I wouldn't want commercial property right next to me.
Well, we could subdivide it into 3 larger lots and offer them back to the market.
I think it would look good if we
And they would have alley, we could probably figure it out for alley access.
Are you saying that none of those houses are usable at all? We would...
2 of the 3 are unoccupied, and in...
Isn't one of them a brick home?
2 of them are, I think.
2 of them are? And they're not sound?
They are in non-compliance with the building code.
But they are, from what I've seen, they're pretty sound buildings. I mean, maybe the back of one of them needs to come down, the wood part, but I don't think we need to take all of these homes off.
Well, again, my obligation as the director is to provide you with the information that people wanted the board to hear.
Yeah.
Okay?
All 3 of them want to sell.
Tony?
Yeah.
If we did, we still built houses over it.
So-
What did you say they wanted for
up to you guys.
510?
Pardon me?
What we'd offer on 510?
We'd have to do appraisals on 510. My position on that would be that it would probably be higher than the 25,000 that we have a limit on in terms of offering without appraisals.
Well, and the reason that this is coming up tonight, and it's a conversation that needs to be had, effective July 1st, the state legislature created a new law that authorizes and allows spending up to $25,000 from the Redevelopment Commission without appraisals to fulfill its obligation to remove blight and to encourage development. And so anytime that we think about, our duties in terms of property, real property, it's not that we're building houses, we're just allowing people to build houses and kind of greasing the skids in that regard. The reason that these properties have come to Mr. Messmore's attention, and I've worked with Mr. Messmore on these, is because these are homes that have been sitting vacant. They're in an area that has adjacent lots with 510. That they've sent Mr. Messmore a letter that said they would want to sell it, and then the UCB lot. And if you can kind of visualize an overhead, then you've got a large lot that could be 1 lot or 2 lots, commercial or residential. So I guess the best way to think of it is, looking just through the lens of redevelopment, is it worth it in this instance or in any instance to use this new law to say, okay, this structure is blighted, whether it's structurally sound or structurally unsound, if it's sitting there and nothing's happening with it, or if it's something that would probably be better served, going away and having a vacant lot and a new property there, then you've fulfilled your duty as redevelopment, just looking at it through that lens. So that's generally this new power that Indianapolis has given you to look at properties around town that may fall into that category, and if you decide that they do, then we can step in and purchase them, tear them down, and make a lot. Or we can purchase them and we don't have to tear them down. So I guess that's generally, specifically, the conversation is with these two properties, are they structurally sound or are they not? Well, I don't know the answer to that. The only thing I know is that 518 and 522 have just sat vacant for a very long time, and that's the reason that have been brought to our attention to begin with. So the question might be, are those buildings that someone would buy and fix up and live in? And if they are, then the private sector, would do that on their own without us, or, if we wanted to help them, however, but I think that would happen on its own. So one of the permutations would be go ahead tonight and move forward on a path that we say, okay, these properties have sat vacant for a very long time, we would use our power, and I think the legislature caps it at $25,000 because they understand we're not just going out on the open market and paying big prices for this property. And that's something we don't do. We've done a good job of not doing. We're not just paying whatever these large inflated prices. We were capped very specifically. And another permit, so to do it now would be one possibility. Another possibility would be to wait a certain amount of time to see if someone comes along and buys them and fixes them up and moves in. Or another possibility is just do nothing and kind of see what happens. The duty that we have, now that I have my redevelopment hat on and I'm representing you guys, is much different from the duty that Carl has as building inspector. Whatever he's going to do, he does on his own. It's completely separate from this, has nothing to do with this. The only correlation, the only reason we even mentioned that they're in that building process is just to be able to have some synergy where the building department can say, hey guys, here's a building, here's why it's on my radar for whatever reason, and if you want it on your radar, then it can be as well.
Mr. Seymour?
Right now, you got one option, and you're right on target. Just sitting there thinking, and I've thought about it before and brought it up. What if you had another program? What if you guys, I believe that you have invested $150,000 now a few times right now you got 4 people, maybe 5 people building homes in Lawrenceburg, so it's obviously working. The surrounding areas, some people want to work on their houses. What if you guys were to take and think of something and put before these fellas to where you could take another $150,000 to start off with, and maybe if we started a remodel program to where if someone would come in, and we'll use one of these houses as an example, if he was to go to the bank and to purchase this house for whatever price he wanted, it might make that house more desirable to him if he knew Lawrenceburg had a program to where he's going to have $25,000 in the house. Maybe we could do some matching. Maybe there's a $10,000 or $15,000 program there for our remodels, Tony. Because what we're seeing is now that we're building these houses, people want to work on their homes, but there's nothing for them. So maybe it's time, now that we know that's working. But the only thing I would hope is you stick with your certificate of occupancy and your building department and the bank, and you say, hey, we'll put this in escrow, but it does not get turned over until the project is done, and maybe it gets done at the bank closing at the loan date. Maybe it's time to come up with the second program. And plus, guys, I'm gonna tell you something, these jobs, these houses, when they get built and you've got this activity downtown, it helps the insurance companies, it helps the lumber yards, it helps the Lowe's, it helps everybody involved. This is not only somebody buying a house, this is a lot more than that. So, that could be another good program.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Paul, I think that's an awesome opportunity. So if we define this area as a project area, specific project area, and define, and not that it couldn't be broader, but just to step into the pool here, if we define that as a specific project area and assign those incentives to that specific project area, see how it goes.
Test.
A test, and if it's successful, then we move that to perhaps another location or project area. And I think we're kind of all dancing around here, but heck, if we bought them and tore them down, we'd have 25 in each of them.
Yeah.
At that price,
So
at least.
who would run this hypothetical project?
I think we'd do it the same way we do the new home. I think this is an incredible idea because, like Mr. Messmer just said, it would be, we almost are creating an incentive where it's better to tear the house down and build a new one than to remodel a house. And what would we prefer? We would prefer to keep our beautiful historic buildings. And I think that's a great
The
idea.
only thing I'm worried about though, Brian, is if we call this to a project area, those are,
That cuts out.
those are three personal homeowners, and people might think that, hey, you're helping them three, but what about me over here?
I have no qualms with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that it needs to be more broader right off the bat,
At least the whole downtown.
downtown.
Well, and that creates, and dovetailing off that, I think that another good idea, besides incentivizing remodeling the same way you incentivize new homes, I think we should consider, these are just ideas I've never brought up before, we should consider taking the cap off the new home buyers, because I think it's similar in the way that we're kind of limiting things. We're saying, don't build a $300,000 house because you're going to miss out on that. You can only get up to $150,000. And if someone wanted to build a $700,000 house downtown, we would love it. We should encourage that. And I also, and I'm biased because I live in one, but I'm also a big fan of the upstairs, downstairs program where you build commercial up top, or commercial in the bottom, residential up top, like Frank Cardis's building where I live and Wendy Rainey's building, where she is, because those are two of the nicest joints in town, because they were able to get whatever it was. So these are all things that we could do right away. We could do them today.
Maybe we need to sit down and figure out a program. I mean, not anything that we can do tonight, but we could sit down and work out a program.
Would Your Honor be okay approving maybe Mr. Messmore, Ms. Brookbank, myself, and Main Street in drafting proposed term sheets for all these possibilities, and then you guys could pick and choose and modify as you please?
Be fine.
You want to sit down with us, Tony, or would you like to offer a board member to sit with us while we're doing that?
A board member be interested? Is that something?
Everybody's looking it over.
We need to have Mr. Cross, he's a new guy. Maybe Mr. Cross and Chairman Abbott would join us, and we'd draw it up and roll it out to you guys.
I second that.
Sounds good, Dennis.
Okay, well, thank
For a
you.
reason. Okay, so, we don't need a motion on that property at all?
No,
then?
that's fine.
All righty.
And again, my obligation to the homeowners and the people who contacted me was to make sure that the board was aware and what I thought maybe some potential
I've got
options
no
could
problem
be.
getting the property over there, but those are two nice old brick homes I think somebody could really fix up.
I think we're on something there, maybe.
All right, moving on with old business. I've got one question for you, Mr. Messmore. We gave a $3,500 grant for a boutique down on High Street.
Yes.
Never has been opened. I mean, and now I hear it's not going to be opened, or?
Well, if it doesn't open, then we will require the repayment of the $3,500.
Was there any kind of time limit on this? Because I do believe it was supposed to have been opened by now, or?
I thought it was 6 months, complete in a year, but I'd have to look. Do you remember?
I I know it's not up yet. We looked it up. I can't remember at the time. I know they're not up yet.
Okay, I don't know off the top of my head.
If you look into that.
Yes, sir, you are. Any other old business from anybody?
You want to talk about the estimates on the firehouse?
It's done.
No, I'm asking if you would like me to.
You know, it's been a while.
This was the work session stuff we're.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw, you know, that one's been kicked around. The idea was, you know, that we, you know, there's not necessarily a white box to fix, you know, the open air situation in the back of the building. I was going to ask you guys if you wanted me to go out and get a conservative estimate on those upgrades. I think I went over them.
Well, there's another thing too. I think we ought to get some kind of heat in there too, because wintertime be coming up before we know it. And that's not because I'm going to do it, guys. I don't do any work for redevelopment. No.
But yeah,
But I think we need heat in that building because of all the, you know.
Well, I think that's the real concern. I mean, we need to look in there and make sure it's good for the winter.
So heat and sewer lines and water lines and.
Yeah, I was looking for my notes. Hang
we're
on.
talking about keeping that commercial and not making a museum out of it, are we?
I didn't know anything about a museum. An example of the things, electric upgrade, move the electric service panel around to the back, take a look at the sprinkler and see if there's any point between where it's at now and total completion that's a good place to leave it. Finish out that back room around the top where it's open air. There's discussion about putting the grease separator in. Stubbing out HVAC plumbing, and perhaps some of that siding on top of it.
Hold on, Brian. If you said stubbing out AVHC and plumbing, you talking about on the inside?
Yes.
Yeah.
How do we know where someone's going to want to put plumbing?
That's why we're just going to stub some out, just get the main stuff in.
No, the main.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking about just to the building.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think we want to try to determine where anybody's going to
Right,
put anything. I mean, so the question, go ahead. I think we need an estimate. I don't know that we have to do it. It could, some of that, Tony, I think the heat's probably something we need to consider. Go ahead, Paul.
We're just talking about estimates, right?
Yeah, just an estimate, and then we'll figure out what to go from there.
If you guys go too far into that building, you're interfering with people's ideas of what they want to do, so if I was you guys, and a lot of the contractors will draw it up like this, but I would ask the utility director, I know right now there is not a water service there to serve that sprinkler line. I know that to be a fact. I know the sewer has to be gotten there, and I think it would be a good idea to put a real grease trap in that restaurant to make sure it'll make it more desirable for somebody walking in. I also feel like that it would be good to get the proper transformer and the work ready for the amount of electric there, but I don't think it would be wise to run it into the building, because there again, you know, that's a big part of designing a restaurant is you want to know where everything goes. I don't think right now, you know, if you're going to heat that thing, I'd like you to do some type of temporary thing and stay away from any type of heating that, because when you get into the heat, your hoods and everything, now you're talking makeup air, and there's a lot of different things you can do. So I think you need to stick to your basic utilities, and I think Owen is probably a guy that can put a number and a cost on how you should bring it within 5 foot of the property, and I'd let whoever's going to do that come to you and your hookups. He could size everything.
Olin, are you running a special this month?
Yeah, buy two, pay for two. We're currently working on the Civic Park project with Strand Associates, and some of that work that we're looking at is that alley that is next to the fire station, and some of those utilities are going to need undergrounded. So we are actually already thinking about how we can serve that area and get the utilities over there and kind of clean that up as part of the project. So that in theory, that'll keep the costs as low as possible. Try to do it both under the same project guidelines, which would be the park. So
is the idea just to do a minimal utility build-out? So we solve our needs of making it attractive, but also not interfere with.
Yeah, so I think we'll just work with the design and utility department as we go along, and if I need something special from you guys or any additional, I'll let you know. Sounds like we can get to the most of it the way we're going, to me.
All righty.
Fair enough?
It's awesome.
Good move.
Anybody have anything else for old business?
The issue about getting heat in there for the wintertime, is there a reason I'm missing for that?
If we're not going to put walls in there or anything like that, maybe we don't have to have heat.
don't
I
need
mean,
heat.
do we need heat, do you think, or?
Well,
not?
if we're concerned about something freezing and breaking in there, we can.
Nothing in there to freeze and break.
Okay, so that's what I was confused
I
about.
know it's open air in the backside, and I just want to make sure it doesn't deteriorate in our possession.
So winterizing it may not necessarily be a needing to heat issue for pipes freezing and that kind of a thing?
No.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, I was just curious.
No.
I think everything that Brian listed we need except for the inside water.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, we don't need heat in there. It's survived every winter very well.
Hope so. Mario?
It is an all-brick structure, and it's nice to put some conditions in there to keep the brick from actually sweating and spalling.
So you think we ought to put heat in there?
It's totally up to this board. I'm just kind of giving you the information.
Well, that's what I was worried about.
Vacant buildings we have in town, and you notice the plaster and a lot of the brick actually spalled off on the outside, it's due to a lot of the condition that's not there on the inside.
Well, let's go back to heating it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Well, Mario, could you go in there and take a look at it and see if there's any evidence of that from previous years? Because it's sat without heat for a long time.
I think it shows some sign of it. I think Mr. Abbott's kind of familiar with some of the
It does.
past history of that building. I mean, it's nothing real drastic, but again, you don't want to start, go through a rough winter, all of a sudden you see a bunch of spots and wonder why. I'm just kind of giving you the information how to prevent it.
Isn't there also a hole that needs repaired in the back? Am I thinking about the right thing? Isn't there some
In the floor or the wall?
I don't know.
I think he's talking about where they put they cemented,
The plumbing?
yeah.
I thought it was outside. I thought it was an exterior wall that had damage, but I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking
I don't
something
believe
else.
so.
Okay, I'm wrong.
It was on the alley side that they say they repaired it.
Okay,
The Davises say they repaired it.
okay.
Okay, anything else on that?
So we're not taking any action on that. Bowman and I will discuss how we get the utilities close to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep you advised,
Last I knew, there was a new furnace in there, unless it's been taken out somewhere.
There's one laying upstairs in there, but I don't know how new it is.
It was new quite a few years ago and then wasn't used very long.
Well, it's laying on the floor upstairs. Unless it's-
So maybe they just reinstall that and we turned it to 45 degrees, so they just keep some type of heat in it.
That's fine.
Look into that. Brian, Mario? Anything else from anybody? Mr. Seymour?
Dale,
Yes, sir.
what about Short Street buildings? Are we closing?
Short Street, we have already closed on Mr. Thomas' building and the Union Hall. The Scudder building, Mr. Scudder and his wife, I spoke with them this morning. They are working real hard. They're down to 3 occupied units, and they're staying optimistic. I've assisted them as best I can without, being their attorney, and made it clear that I'm not.
Forecast.
They just don't know. I mean, they've asked them to vacate the premises, and, they're gonna handle it the way they think most appropriate. I think that is certainly the best situation for us. We certainly don't want to be dealing with that.
Oh, and we're not backed up right now to where we need it vacant.
We're not. I would say that 30 days at the latest for whatever process needs to play out. But I check in with them just once a week probably just to make sure they're doing okay. And I know that they're working hard. They've got reason to get it done, obviously.
But the other two are done, right?
Yes, sir.
What about the row house?
That's set up or getting set up.
It's close.
I don't know, I've been gone last week. Ms. Brookbank, do you know when?
I saw the chimney is fenced off now.
Yeah.
Down below on the other one, because there's big holes in the chimney.
Well, the chimney started to have some issues. Mr. Messmore sent me a photograph from Music on the River, and Mr. Schilling secured it, I suppose, in some way. I missed that, too. I've been in Wyoming.
Thank God that's the one they rejected our offer on.
Yeah, right, exactly, the same problem.
Maury, did you have something?
Yes, on Jimmy Thomas's building, we did the asbestos survey today. Should have the results back within a week, week and a half.
Olin, do you have anything you want to say about that building? You still interested?
I have something to say about some of the conversations that are happening here tonight. A couple of those things. We've been in the market now looking for a home very aggressively for 10-plus months. And one thing I hope that the board understands, and I hope City Council will come to understand, is that it appears as though there are a lot of home options in Lawrenceburg proper. And that just isn't the case. There's not a lot of housing that would be suitable for, and I'm not talking about real fancy housing. I'm talking about housing that people would find adequate for them and their families. There just is a huge shortage of that. All of us have been across the river to Kentucky and see what's happening there as far as development, and things being built, and industry coming into the area. We're missing a heck of an opportunity here in this community to capitalize on some of those young people and those professionals that are coming into this area. And if you go over to Kentucky and you meet people, everybody that you meet over there is from someplace else. They've come here because of the jobs and the industry and things that are available here. And here we are sitting across the river, not capitalizing on that, not talking about that, not doing anything to try to bring those people into our community and increase our tax base. And somebody that's in utilities, I'm very dialed in on rooftops and getting people in and new industry and things, because that's the best way that I can keep rates low for all of the people that are here currently. And so I would hope that, I'm very encouraged tonight with the suggestion of making funds available to remodel businesses that are, or homes that are in the community. I think that's a fantastic thing. I would hope that when it comes to the new home construction or purchase, that maybe we wouldn't limit that to just downtown Lawrenceburg, because quite frankly, any place in Lawrenceburg is good and of value, especially to us as a community. And so I would hope that there would be some consideration in moving that plan out of just downtown Lawrenceburg and looking at the entire footprint of Lawrenceburg. Because, look, this is a great place to be. I mean, this is lower taxes, just a great area to be in and raise a family. Every bit as good as what's across the river in Kentucky. And I think that we should tell people our story, that we should use that as an example to try to bring people here, and that we should aggressively go after those homes and be in the market and compete with those other areas to bring people here to this community. I think that if we did some things to go down that road, I think we'd all be pleasantly surprised with the amount of people that are going to want to be here. Because if we did nothing, if everybody just did nothing, people are going to, on their own, come here to this community. They're going to find property on their own. They're going to buy it. They're going to build a house. And they're going to do that without any kind of thought being put into it by the city, by city officials or the utilities. We'll be providing services, but no input into how that project came to be. And so I think some dedicated thought on that issue would go a long ways, because then we can start thinking about what neighborhoods look like, type of services that we have in those neighborhoods, and have some form and function to the whole thing. I am going to be closing on a home in Aurora. And while I'm happy that my wife and I are going to be buying a home, we're looking at $150,000 plus to renovate the home to accommodate us to fit us all. And it's not that we wanted to do that. That wasn't That wasn't our objective. I didn't want to be out of Lawrenceburg. I didn't want to buy an older home and put money into it. We talked about the building, and that was something we were very interested in doing, And I understand the timing of such just didn't work out, and that's fine. I understand that the process has to be correct, and I support that. But I would have very much liked to have been in Lawrenceburg, and we went to great efforts to try to be in Lawrenceburg proper. And I'm a little disappointed that we weren't able to make that happen. I'm happy about what we're doing and the investment that we're making, and that we're finally having a place to call our own, but I would have very much liked to have been in Lawrenceburg proper. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Brian Messmore for an update on, Brian, you know how we talked about the properties on the west end of High Street, the houses down there that were possibly available? On High Street, I think I said High Street. Is there anything going on down there that we could look at sometime soon for housing?
Are you talking about the Lowe's property, or are you talking about the houses?
I'm talking about the houses that were possibly available down at the west end of High Street that you and I talked about. You had a couple addresses, I don't remember what they are.
There's rentals down there that are in various states of...
There's an empty one down there, too.
And there is also, I believe, one empty one.
And I think that's, a great conversation to have. And Owen brings up a good point, I think what we do here, even when we, give $3,000 to a boutique that hopefully will open, anything we do... $3,500 with commercial business or restaurants or entertainment or with houses, it's all designed to increase rooftops. It's all designed to make people come here and stay here, not just come and eat and drive back home. We have one of the best utilities in the entire country. We have an event center and casino, and the list goes on and on. So that's the natural next step that all this is leading to is okay, if people see how big this town is, where do they live? If they want to move here permanently, which is what we want.
Well, since the chairman brought it up about the boutique, I'm looking at Mrs. Kreider, and I don't know if we should talk about our recent conversation or not about you relocating, because that affects that, and I kind of feel like disclosure is an important thing here. The chairman brought it up. It is $3,500. We had the people from the Antique Mall, the same couple, have approached us about doing outside events in the parking lot, which we talked about 7-8 years ago for Backstreet Market concept. Maybe 2 or 3 shows a year, outdoor thing, including the Hummel lot and the other ones. And we said we'd like to chew on it for a month or so. And we got back to them and we said, well, okay. So they approached us about taking Main Street's location and moving and I'm being full disclosure here, about putting the boutique in the Main Street address and then taking where the boutique was supposed to be, where we dedicated the $3,500 for wall repairs, relocation of walls and something else, and move additional exhibits into that space. So I think if there's going to be a problem with them, Del, we need to notify them and tell them that that's a problem.
You're saying that
they want to put another 10 or 15 booths in that space because there's more room, and that space specifically connects to the inside of the Antique Mall, correct, Pat? So if they're in the Antique Mall and we can put another 15 booths in, or 10 booths, that's the space to do it where they don't have to go outside, they're inside the same building.
Then that's not the premise that the money was granted on, so that would...
No, it's not.
That would require a refund.
It's not. So I'm just I'm trying to ascertain here that if there's some function that's going to take place, I need to know, and Pat Kreider needs to know.
Yep.
Because she may have to put the brakes on her move, and we certainly may have to put the brakes on our allowing that to happen, or wanting that to happen. So, am I out of line here? I think it's information you should know.
No, I mean, the only thing, the only interest that I think we have is that $3,500 is on the premise of the boutique. If that's not the case, then it's incumbent on.
Well, Brian, let's say that we press for that $3,500 to be replaced, and they go, no, we're just going to go ahead and move in the original place. That would obviously affect Pat's decision to move out of our building. Now, A is always connected to B and C. It just always works out that way. So if there's something that an action that we want to provoke on this, which I think we're entitled to, I think we need to get to the bottom of it.
I'll walk down there tomorrow and.
Post haste.
They have 6 months, I guess, in the contract.
I said I don't remember, but.
For sure.
I think that we should just have an honest discussion.
They do, Brian, but we need to know, right?
Right.
Mr. Seymour?
Oh, I sit back over the years and the mistakes and the problems and all the things you got, and it kind of seems like to me for the first time, I don't know how long the fellow's been in town, but I know he's tried, he's been open, he's tried it. Seems like he just found his niche. $3,500, I'd kind of like leave him alone and shake his hand and say, man, we got everybody that's coming in out of the hotel. People were going to the place, and I know he promises he was going to do something, but he also came in and we didn't give him anything for the antique mall, so he was good enough. He got that together, and he got that going. And guys, that's a building that, you know, it's people are going in and out of it. If he can tie it in, $3,500 is, you got to sit back sometimes and for such a small amount of money and the effort he's doing, maybe it's you turn and wish him well, because I don't know that he's ever done as good as what he's doing now. That's my comment.
Well, I concur that he's doing really well, and I'm excited about that. I mean, if nothing else, we need to modify the agreement. I mean, there has to be some upfront conversation here, not just ignoring the fact, because we can't set a precedent and.
Yeah, we just can't say we forgive it. I mean, just like these guys, this is why we're doing this, because they might come in and say, you need to forgive it because you.
Oh, I will. Well, I will. There's good, no question about that. I mean, at minimum, we need to
Do with these.
modify the terms.
I think it has to do with another scenario that's completely, it stands unique on its own. Now, I don't have a problem one way or the other, but I can tell you this, that when we didn't do the Backstreet Market originally, they put Over the Moon in over at the track, and they had 3,500 to 4,500 people come to those events. So when they came to us and reapproached Mary and my interest in having something spectacular for downtown, we have an outdoor show 2-3 times a year, Mary and I were willing to say to Pat and these guys, we think this is more important, and Pat didn't have a problem with it. As a matter of fact, we were so happy with it that we reduced the rent for them for a year or so, so they can make the move. If that's a problem, I'm not talking about you, the other people, but if that's a problem, I agree with Brian, we need to know. But that's not my decision to make those judgment calls for them.
I think we're good. We'll get through it. I'll go down there and we'll just, like I said, if nothing else, we can discuss I hate not to address it because I think it might leave us open for. Yes.
Well, there's two issues, Brian.
So,
The chairman brought it up because he thought it was important. Mr. Messmore brought up a good point that I think we've done in the past on many occasions where we've been flexible with people.
Right.
And I don't think that compares with these people over here or anyone else. I think we take each individual case individually and make decisions based on that. That's how I feel. And again, I'm only one vote here, and I'm on a little bit of an edge as to whether or not I should recluse myself completely because, we're a landlord and we own that building. So either way, I'm fine. But I just want Pat to know, because she's sitting here, and Del, I guess we're going to have to get in this. Well, Brian said he's going to go down there tomorrow, or.
Well, what I'm hearing is, just looking at this agreement, so, and I agree with Mr. Seymour Jr. and Mr. Messmore, and everyone, I think, agrees that having this successful antique mall is a wonderful thing and a good thing, and we all like it. So if we made an agreement with them about the boutique, and they've breached that agreement, then we can approach them and talk to them about that and find some kind of settlement of that breach to resolve it, and then you guys could approve it. And we could
Yeah, because I
meet
have to
them and
tell
bring it to
you,
you.
I have to agree with Paul here. They've completely changed my attitude.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen downtown.
And I think they would be more than willing to sit down and figure out a way to, number one, continue to be successful. Number two, address the fact that they did make a deal, and you got to honor your deal. So we could do both, I think.
All right, well, I think it's enough on that. Anything else in old business?
Well, sir.
Okay, moving forward to approval of claims once properly certified. Do we have any claims?
No. Yeah, we got claims.
Pat, did you want?
Either before or after the claims.
Okay. Okay, can I have a motion for the claims?
Make a motion, we approve the claims.
Motion by Dennis, a second.
I'll second that motion.
Second by Randy, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Claims approved. Comments from the audience, that's a good time, Pat. Randy?
Couple of things. First of all, what you do as far as the 3,500 is certainly your decision. But I think they have told me that when they put that retail boutique in there, they intend to operate it for as many hours as they operate that antique mall. That antique mall is going 7 days a week and doing very well. And the kind of the upside of this is that we are looking at moving across the street to Select Benefits, which is now really just kind of an occupied space. And it will actually work very well for a Main Street office. And if the board allows us, we're actually going to enhance the look of that building. So what you're getting is you're optimizing the use of those two buildings. And I think that if you look at the big picture of the downtown, optimizing the use of buildings has really been an issue for us, so this sets a good pattern. The other thing, as far as Paul's idea about rehabbing the older homes, Tony, you and I talked about this a couple months ago.
Yep.
And I think it's a great idea, because when we did those second-floor apartments, we got a lot of good rehabs out of that, and we've got a lot of people living in very nice circumstances. And when I drive up and down those streets, I see all these older homes for sale, and I think, gosh, with a little bit of work, those homes are so cool. They could really be nice. So I'm for that, but I also want to say that I really support Olin's idea that we really need to sit back and look at the big picture. Where do we want new housing? Where can we rehab old housing? And have a whole plan, not only for single family, but multifamily. And I think that's just looking at the residential piece as a whole is really important, because people want to live down here. I'm getting a lot of people that want to come down here. So we're now the place to be. My original reason for this evening is, if you've been watching Channel 12, you probably see there are some advertisements on there. It talks about Lawrenceburg and that we're looking for businesses. So we decided down at Main Street that if people are going to be coming in here knocking on our door for businesses, we should have something that we can give them. About a year and a half ago, back when Kelly Will actually was still here, we had these folders made. So what we've done, Hannah and I, in the past 2 weeks, we've gone in and gathered information on all the city has to offer. We have demographics here, we have incentive programs, we have information about the SBDC, about the chamber. We've put these packets together, and these are kind of temporaries. We would like to give them to you to look at and assess, tell us what could be better, how we could improve it, what's in here that doesn't need to be in, what else could be in, and then these would be available for everyone to give out to anybody any prospects, whether they want to come here to live or whether they want to come here to do business. And the papers we have these on, this is just regular copy paper. Once we have these finalized, we'll get them on a nicer stock. But I just wanted to give these for your inspection and get back to us and tell us what you think.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, she's got more.
Thank you, Pat.
Pat, one more down here. Kelly.
Is that all, Pat? All righty. Somebody else from the audience? Dale?
Your Honor, sorry, something that I didn't bring up during old business, but I think it bears attention, are these kiosks. You know, to me, it's a problem, you know, when we are presentations made to us and we're promised something and we pay for that promise and we don't get it. And, you know, we paid a lot of money for that. I've always been of the opinion that, you know, a uniform signage and uniform marketing and uniform branding is so important to a downtown. And, you know, I think two things. One, I think it'd be nice to start going in a different direction with our signage. And two, it'd be nice to explore what can be done about them kind of breaking their promise to us. I just think many people are unhappy with those kiosks.
Didn't city council vote to send a letter to them, or Paul?
I think we did something.
We took a vote on do something with them. Pat, would you come up and?
Maybe Monday we did, I wasn't here.
I thought it was before.
Subject is becoming my weekly migraine. I met this morning, we have, the app is complete, okay? There are issues with Wi-Fi that we have. I guess the Whiskey City Wi-Fi only, it times out after an hour or so, and I think that's the stronger, the two signals between your Wi-Fi and the event center Wi-Fi. So the suggestion was made that we have it hardwired. Like I said, this is a subject that, this is not in my wheelhouse at all, so
I know,
I've
but
had to
this
learn a
guy
lot.
should have known all this when he approached us to sell these to us.
Send that here.
Well, I've had less problems with him than the software side has been more problematic. So today we met with Cincinnati Cabling Technology, which was referred to us by Nexigen, and Nexigen is doing the Wi-Fi for the city. So we went through Nexigen, they sent us to Cincinnati Cable. I met this morning, first thing, Mario was there. We met about hardwiring this because it will be a better signal.
Yeah, but do we want
So-
to tear up the sidewalk and tear up the ground and install utilities?
That's what we were looking at today. The easiest way for us to put this cabling in without really messing anything up.
Seems like we got an old, you know.
That's what I was just going to
machine.
talk about.
I don't think it's.
Are we
I don't
going to
think
put
it's-
more money into something that's not going to work? Because this thing just hasn't worked from day one. And it's not just because the Wi-Fi wasn't, other things broke down on it, on them.
Brand spanking new.
No, I don't think so.
The software, they had software after software problems.
That was
I mean,
because
this has been,
from Google.
yeah, and this has been how long? 3 years, 2 years,
Yeah, no.
Year and a half?
It's a year and a half.
year and a
Yeah,
half?
It's a year and a half.
Seems like it's been longer.
And, you know, all I can tell you is that if you want that kind of expertise, then I'm going to need to get somebody to evaluate it, because, you know, this is not something I have expertise
No,
in to tell you if we're going down the wrong path. Now, there is a gentleman, I've been talking to Mark Graver. He has a gentleman who is an instructor over at Ivy Tech, who this may be his field. He may be able to help us out with this, and I'm exploring that facet too. So, you know, I'm trying to get answers.
I think it's, we should bring somebody in to look at it instead of somebody that we bought it from, and look at it and say, hey, this is antique, or this is worth going with, or what?
Is this our problem?
This was council.
And this is
We
council.
never touched this 1 second, you guys.
You're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
We haven't allocated any money for this or anything else.
Yeah.
council touched it.
Well, and that's a good point, and I guess I should have thought about that before I brought it up. But it does affect us, because these kiosks are basically, you know, the way that people come downtown and learn about our downtown and learn where things are and learn about events. And, you know, I've been to a lot of really cool downtowns, and you never see, you know, an old Pac-Man machine, you know, that you punch. You know, you see nice, cool signs, and I think physical signs are the way that most downtowns go. So I think it could hold back from our overall redevelopment scheme. But you're right. No,
I feel like
Would
people
you,
want to play
would you
frog
get
when
on,
they go out there.
on our next meeting, city council meeting, Pat, about this, and so we can discuss it.
And I could try, in the meantime, I am trying to get in touch or get Mark to get this gentleman to come down, and maybe Pete is able to assess the situation better than I. I mean, I don't know hardware, I don't know software. I
Right.
do know that a lot of the hardware
It's still going on.
pieces inside that kiosk have been updated. So, I mean, a lot of it is new, but, you know, Olin is probably much better able to speak to this than I.
But the issues around the Wi-Fi being used for this purpose is we have essentially an outside vendor that if we allow him access on our Wi-Fi system, that is a weakness for our security, because remember, that ties back to the city system, and that would be a way into the city system and potentially into the city system unrestricted. And so if the city were to take on that as a formal responsibility, it would need to be a Wi-Fi, a kiosk that was owned by, I'm going to say the utilities for lack of a better structure, because we are handling all the IT infrastructure issues, all the deployment of all the devices, everything that you see it out on the street. We're over those things, managing those things, and providing and make sure that all the patches are current and et cetera on the network. I think part of the issue that we've had with the kiosks, and I understand this isn't a redevelopment issue, but we have a lot of people there's some commonalities here, so we'll just go through it. I think that it was initially the wireless signal or the connection was going to be provided by Hollywood Casino out of the event center.
The Wi-Fi.
And so that was the understanding that we had. There was no expectation for us to provide a connection for them that was going to be furnished. So I don't know what's happened there. I do know that they have a COM card that's in the machine now that could communicate, but there's some issue that's developed around that. Now, Nexigen was approached to kind of give them their opinion about things. I will say that if you look at the SmartLink kiosk, or the Milo kiosk that is deployed in northern Kentucky, down in Covington, and throughout Cincinnati, and is now being deployed other places, this is a Nexigen product. Nexigen and I, we've gone up and looked at the kiosk, and they're confident that all of the existing structure, all of the existing drivers and hardware could have the Milo software put onto it and make it a functioning kiosk. It's not the one that they build. It doesn't look like the one that they build. It interacts on the screen differently than the one that they build, but the software's sound, it's proven, and it functions quite well. And I believe there's a field trip set up for any of the elected officials to go over to Nexigen, and I'll get the date, 29th, for everyone to kind of see how it works and see firsthand how it functions. That would be a solution to it. But if we did that, I would lobby that we take ownership of the project as well, so that we can ensure the security protocols, et cetera, dealing with it.
And that would be fine. So, Tony, do you want to wait till after we go on this field trip? Because it is, I think it's the 29th.
I'll firm up the date. I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's-
Yeah,
The
that'd be best.
mayor did send us some information about it because he wanted us to go on it too. So if we go on that field trip, find that out, in the meantime, we'll maybe have some other options.
Right.
Okay.
That's what we need, some options.
Yeah. We're working on it, believe me, every week we work on it.
Oh, I know it's been a thorn in your side.
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Anything else? If not, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
A motion by Dennis, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Oh, long day.
Sir. We got her. Get your first one out of your belt, man. Wasn't too much, did bite too much.
Well, I like this.
You're rolling over your back.
Hey,
I like this better than that first meeting.
All right. I'm gonna see you tomorrow.
Tom,
What are you
I
doing
was just
tomorrow?
getting ready
Hey, what are you
to make
doing
a
tomorrow?
motion for you to come up here. and
Yes,
tell me
ma'am.
something.
I just got a question.
Yeah.
Hey, you tried to take me in.
I'll come down and get some barbecue.
Hey, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, we love it. I hope that works.
Don't bring it up. Oh, really?
I got it.
I'm not going to forget what meeting I'm at.
On these prices,
On these prices.
Hey, it works.
it works out for you. I'll do what I can.
I know his work is good, I had it before. I know it is. That's why my boys are always talking about great barbecues. Like I just went over to Tampa next to them guys, they make barbecue, it's good, eat them like french fries.
One day at a time.
I love ribs.
I can get you today,